Welcome, everyone. So today we're diving into an incredibly deep explainer of a completely forgotten empire. Just imagine a sprawling, bustling metropolis totally dedicated to the goddess of love, where the streets were literally paved with artistic genius, only to be completely swallowed up by time. Well, today we are going to uncover the unbelievable story of Aphrodisias, the absolute marble metropolis of the ancient Mediterranean.
So how exactly does an entire ancient city just get lost? Honestly, it sounds totally impossible to us today, right? But picture this for a second. It's 1958. You take a wrong turn on a road trip through western Turkey, and you end up in this super isolated little village called Gere. And suddenly, you look around and you realize the locals are literally crushing grapes inside priceless Roman sarcophagi. They're using these intricately carved marble columns just to prop up the roofs of their cottages. It's wild. A magnificent ancient metropolis was basically just hiding in plain sight.
And the guy who took that incredibly lucky wrong turn back in 1958, well, that was the legendary photographer Ara Güler. He snapped these striking, almost surreal photos of villagers just going about their daily lives among classical ruins. And those images absolutely captivated the world. In fact, that spark is what brought Professor Kenan Aram from New York University out to the site in 1961. And let me tell you, this man dedicated the entire rest of his life to unearthing it. Today, that sort of multi-generational relay race of preservation is actually still going strong with teams from Oxford University.
All right, let's move into Section 1, Capital of Marble and Sculpture.
So what made Aphrodisia such a massive deal? Well, it had this totally unique combo of factors driving its success. First off, being named after Aphrodite gave it immense cultural prestige right out of the gate. But practically speaking, it literally hit the geographic jackpot. The city sat right next to these incredibly rich quarries filled with premium, flawless marble. Having that kind of endless supply basically gave rise to a legendary sculpture school. And we're not just talking about some local stone carvers here. These are ancient superstar artists who are exporting highly sought-after, signed masterworks all across the Roman Empire.
Now, to truly wrap your head around their artistic genius, we have to look at the Sebastion. This was a jaw-dropping, monumental temple complex dedicated entirely to the Roman imperial cult. It featured two massive parallel colonnaded porticos. But the real magic? That's in the decoration. These sculptors created multi-story, world-class high-relief panels that brilliantly merged local Greek mythology with the absolute divinely ordained power of the Roman emperors. It was literally unparalleled political propaganda carved right into the stone.
And miraculously, almost all of these spectacular artifacts are perfectly preserved right on site today inside the Aphrodisias Museum. The treasures you'll find here are just staggering. You've got the main cult statue of Aphrodite carved in her very specific local Anatolian style. You've got those incredible Sebastian reliefs we just talked about, and these beautifully crafted marble sarcophagi. You even stumble upon these amazing character-driven monuments, like the monumental reliefs of C. Julius Zoilos. He was actually a freed slave who somehow became a wildly wealthy benefactor for the city, which just proves the insane level of social mobility that was sometimes possible in the Roman world.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the grand structures of antiquity.
30,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the massive number of spectators that could pack into the Aphrodisias Stadium. And look, we aren't talking about some quaint local sports field here. This was a colossal 270-meter-long arena, and it actually stands as one of the absolute best-preserved stadiums in the entire ancient world. Tens of thousands of people would gather here for huge athletic competitions, intense animal hunts, and, yes, even gladiator fights.
The physical buildings themselves also capture the changing soul of the city over time. Back in the 1st century BC, the beating heart of the city was this grand pagan Ionic temple dedicated, of course, to Aphrodite. But as societies evolve, their architecture evolves right along with them. By the 5th century AD, living under a newly Christian Roman Empire, the citizens didn't just tear down the old pagan temple. Instead, they pulled off this massive architectural transformation. They literally turned the building inside out to create this sprawling Christian basilica. It's a totally fascinating repurposing of history.
And beyond the stadium and the temples, there were these massive civic structures that supported everyday life. You have the Tetrapylon, which is the stunning 2nd century monumental gate featuring 16 beautifully ornate columns. And amazingly, that gate was meticulously re-erected piece by Kenan Aram himself. Then you've got a 7,000-seat theater acting as the main entertainment hub,
a Boulaterion that held about 1,750 citizens for political council meetings and music events, and of course, the lavish, completely marble-decorated Hadrian Baths. But, listen, Aphrodisias wasn't all just politics and giant bathhouses. It was a thriving intellectual center, too. The Agora featured this absolutely colossal decorative pool built under the Emperor Tiberius, and right next door was a late antique school of philosophers. It was totally decked out with classrooms and portrait busts of great thinkers, which really goes to show that this city valued the power of the mind just as much as it valued the strike of the chisel.
Which brings us to Section 3, Unearthing the Legacy.
Because obviously, securing this city for the future didn't just happen overnight. It was saved from total obscurity by a single accidental photograph, and then painstakingly brought back to light by literally decades of relentless excavation by NYU and Oxford. And all of that incredible effort finally culminated in 2017 when Aphrodisias was awarded UNESCO World Heritage status. That essentially guarantees that this phenomenal marble metropolis is going to be protected, studied, and admired for generations to come.
And we really have to circle back to Professor Kenan Aram here. He didn't just study this city, he breathed life right back into its marble veins. Because of his absolute, unwavering dedication, he was granted a really rare honor. Today, his final resting place is an elegant tomb located right inside the ancient city limits. He's resting peacefully right beside the magnificent tetrapylon gate that he worked so incredibly hard to restore. It's just beautiful. He is permanently woven into the history of the city he saved.
So Aphrodisias left behind these breathtaking marble sculptures, vast stadiums, and the deeply human stories of its people, beautifully carved right into stone. And honestly, looking at all of this, it forces us to ask, what artifacts will our modern cities leave behind? When the explorers of the future dig up our civilization thousands of years from now, will they find monuments of lasting beauty or something else entirely? Think about that for a bit. Thank you so much for joining me on this in-depth explainer today. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.